Episode 90, Her speed is too fast. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Ah? The man in the white shirt clutched his head and wailed. Ningxi's terrifying combat skills far exceeded his expectations, to the point where he had no chance to fight back. Kill the female actress? What a joke. Such a delicate appearance, yet possessing such dreadful skills. Why is that? At this point, Ningxi had already chambered the Italian Beretta 92F pistol and loaded 7 bullets inside. Long before this, Ningxi had discovered that the gun magazines in the box were all empty. Those foreigners would naturally not be foolish enough to load bullets into the magazines. Therefore, when identifying the first gun, Ningxi was just buying time out of necessity. The second identification was to make those foreigners relax their guard. As for the third identification, Ningxi had already planned her strategy. The pocket of the man in the white shirt protruded, and the protrusion was the shape of a bullet. Ningxi couldn't possibly mistake the shapes of various bullets, and in places like Philadelphia, people generally had a common habit. After filling their pistols with bullets, they would carry a few spare bullets on them, usually in their pockets, just in case. At first, Ningxi found that those foreigners were too arrogant. The man in the white shirt still had his gun, seemingly thinking that everything was under their control. Ningxi initially thought about using their arrogance and directly snatching the gun from the man in the white shirt. However, she ultimately dismissed that idea. The gun the man in the white shirt carried was a homemade firearm, unknown in terms of range, penetration power, and accuracy. Ningxi had never encountered such a weapon. If she recklessly took the gun and there was the slightest deviation when using it, she and Jiong and the others would undoubtedly die. However, in that box, there was one of Ningxi's favorites, the Italian Beretta 92F pistol. She could ensure that if she used the 92F pistol, there was an 80% chance she could overcome this crisis. Xiao and Jiong were dumbfounded. Ningxi's set of movements was truly astonishing. Under that seemingly delicate appearance, who could have imagined that such terrifying explosive power was hidden? At this moment, Ningxi had already loaded 7 bullets into the Italian Beretta 92F pistol and aimed it at the bald strongman. Foolish pig, kill that damn woman for me. The bald strongman was uncontrollably angry. He was actually being pointed at with a gun by an actress. Moreover, the gun was already loaded. The greatest advantage of the Italian Beretta 92F pistol was that it could use almost 90% of the ammunition produced in Philadelphia. There was almost no situation where the caliber didn't match. While the bald man was speaking, he had swiftly moved the pistol towards Ningxi, wanting to shoot her before she shot him. The bald strongman was highly confident in his own marksmanship. However, what he didn't expect was that before he could aim his gun at Ningxi, she had already fired hers. Bang! A muffled low sound spread throughout the room. At the same time, a bloody hole appeared in the center of the bald strongman's forehead. Thunk! The bald strongman fell backward with a thud. After convulsing for a moment, he breathed his last. Up until this point, Ningxi hadn't even glanced at the bald strongman. Her gaze remained fixed on Xiao and the man in the white shirt, who was clutching his head. What kind of marksmanship is that? There's no need to even look. Jiong's expression was shocked, and he couldn't help but inhale sharply. Not only Jiong but even Xiao was completely dumbfounded. His mind was blank, and everything exceeded his original expectations and calculations. That actress named Ningxi, is she really just an actress? Earlier, what did you say? Ningxi was like an ice mountain, cold enough to make every hair on one's body stand on end. Damn actress! Kill her! While Ningxi spoke, the other foreigners also completely snapped back to reality, realizing what had happened. As they raised their arms holding guns, before they could even shoot at Ningxi. Bang! 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 Several muffled gunshots rang out. The foreigners holding guns widened their eyes, and blood flowed down from the center of their foreheads. Their bodies fell straight to the ground, and the guns were flung far away. Fast, too fast. Miss Ning, her speed is just too fast. Jiong couldn't help but marvel and added, not only is it fast, but the accuracy has reached an extremely terrifying level. At this distance, it's exactly the limit of Miss Ning's German pistol's range. Maximum speed combined with maximum calculation ability, and maximum accuracy. She can't possibly be just an actress. What does she do? An actress with such skills? Even if you beat Jiong to death, he wouldn't believe it. At this moment, Jiong suddenly smiled inexplicably. He really didn't know what the boss was thinking. Did this kind of woman need him to protect her? Did she need someone else's protection? It would be more plausible if she were protecting someone else. Shi Zhao's mouth slightly opened, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say a word. From start to finish, Ningxi didn't even glance at those foreigners. The gun in her hand seemed to be firing randomly, but in fact, those foreigners didn't even have a chance to shoot. In the blink of an eye, Ningxi fired several shots, each one deadly. In the time it took to blink, only the foreign woman Alice was left. Ah! The man in the white shirt was still howling, sounding like a pig being slaughtered. Annoying, get lost. Ningxi kicked out with one leg, forcefully kicking the man in the white shirt several meters away. Shi Xiao and Xiongji dared not make a sound, especially Shi Xiao. Although he wasn't afraid of Ningxi's explosive power and extremely skilled combat techniques, she had a gun, that dreadful marksmanship. You're lucky. If it were a few years ago and you dared to talk to me like this, you would have long been a dead person. Ningxi glanced at Shi Xiao. What I mean, do you understand? I understand. Shi Xiao gritted his teeth and finally nodded in surrender. His instinct told him that he couldn't afford to provoke this woman. Ningxi, miss, quickly kill that woman. Xiongji urged, seeing that Alice was still alive. Ningxi looked at Alice. What did you just say about me, only knowing how to sell my body? Kill me using your hands? Hearing this, Alice frowned, coldly saying, in my eyes, you're nothing. You stupid pig. With that, Alice quickly drew her gun. Bang! However, Ningxi's gun had already burst into flames. Alice exclaimed in surprise, Ningxi was too fast. Much faster than her. This bullet didn't hit her body, instead, it knocked the gun out of her hand, sending it flying over a dozen meters away. Thunk! Alice's gun was flung away, landing about a dozen meters away. Amazing! Kill her! Xiongji was excited. No bullets left. Ningxi also threw the empty gun aside. Perfect, I need to leave someone alive. You're seeking death. Alice glared, her eyes full of rage, and rushed towards Ningxi with the wind, punching towards her. The red and black belt, is it this arrogant now? Ningxi shook her head indifferently, with a calm expression, not even bothering to consider Alice. Be careful, that woman is formidable. Xiongji couldn't help but remind. As soon as he spoke, Ningxi's right leg suddenly lifted, swift and agile, rising a few minutes before swiftly chopping down, forming two broken lines. Snap! Alice had just closed in on Ningxi when Ningxi's downward leg struck, heavy and fast. This kick directly hit the top of Alice's head. Almost at the same time, Alice's entire body seemed to lose consciousness, falling to the ground like a sack of mud. She's unconscious? Xiongji was astonished. Ningxi's kick that knocked out the foreign woman was truly stunning. I forgot to tell you. I have a black belt. Ningxi glanced at the unconscious Alice with a faint tone. Watching this scene, Shi Xiao and Xiongji looked at each other in astonishment, both with dumbfounded expressions. They were almost shocked to the point of numbness. Ningxi. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind. This voice. Lu Tingxiao? Boss! Ningxi ran towards him with her arms outstretched. When she reached the man, she thoroughly inspected him, ensuring he was intact. She finally breathed a sigh of relief. You're okay. That's great. You. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's expression was extremely ugly. His whole body seemed to be burning in fierce flames, and he was so furious that it felt like he could spit fire. Who allowed you to come here? Ningxi saw Lu Tingxiao so angry for the first time, so terrifying. She shrank her shoulders, feeling frightened. Boss, you're so scary. Lu Tingxiao gritted his teeth. Do you even know how to be afraid? Pointing at herself with her fingers, Ningxi made a pitiful expression, weakly saying, how could I not be afraid? After all, I'm just a girl. I was so scared just now, my calves were shaking. Boss, please don't scold me. Comfort me, stroke me like a tiger. Behind them, Shi Xiao and Xiongji twitched at the corners of their mouths, black lines appearing on their foreheads. Was this woman schizophrenic? She was so arrogant just now, but where was the slightest sign of fear? Boss believing her would be a miracle. You. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl who seemed panicked, and at this moment, even though he felt like he was burning in a raging fire, he could only endure it without harming her. He stiffly faced her and took a deep breath, finally suppressing the anger in his heart. He reached out his large hand and patted the girl's head. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Ningxi let out a long sigh of relief, secretly patting her chest. Finally, she had escaped a disaster. Boss's anger was really terrifying. Then, she blinked her eyes and weakly said, I'm not afraid anymore when I see boss. As long as you don't scold me. Lu Tingxiao showed a trace of apology. I'm sorry, I lost control for a moment. I won't do it again next time. Are we blind? Who is this person? Is this their big boss, Lu Tingxiao? Are you kidding me? Maybe this person isn't their boss, but another trap set by the enemy? The only calm person on the scene was Cheng Feng, who was following behind Lu Tingxiao. He pushed up his glasses and had an expression that seemed to say, you guys are still not calm because you haven't seen enough. The car left the arms depot. After confirming that Lu Tingxiao was unharmed, Ningxi finally relaxed. She looked out of the window with a dazed expression. Philadelphia, the last time she came here, it was still a bustling city. Now, it was nothing but ruins in the chaos of war. While Ningxi was looking out the window, Lu Tingxiao's secretive gaze was fixed on her. Even though he had planned everything seamlessly, he never expected that when he led his people here and opened the warehouse, he would see Ningxi, who was still in China, appearing in such a dangerous place. Before he could collect his thoughts, he was shocked by another scene. The girl acted instantly, and in an instant, everyone fell under the barrel of her gun, including her swift takedown of the foreign woman. At that moment, the girl's cold gaze and the aura around her were so unfamiliar, with no trace of the person he was familiar with, like a completely different stranger. He knew. That girl was still Ningxi. That was her past. However, when she joyfully ran towards him and pitifully spoke of fear, he knew she was still his girl. Ningxi unintentionally turned her head, and she happened to meet Lu Tingxiao's deep gaze. Nervously, she swallowed and said, boss, why are you looking at me like that? You're not planning to settle the score, right? You promised not to be angry. Lu Tingxiao withdrew his thoughts. I still have some things to deal with in Philadelphia. Are you going back to China first, or coming with me? Ningxi thought for a moment and immediately replied, I'll go with you. She explained, I don't have much work these days, and I rarely get the chance to travel. Might as well take this opportunity to explore around. Besides, I haven't seen you for a while, so I want to stay with you for a bit longer. Lu Tingxiao looked at her with a cold gaze, and his tone became colder. If you come with me, you're not allowed to leave my line of sight for the next few days. Huh? Ningxi frowned. Wouldn't that be boring? I'll suffocate. Lu Tingxiao's face turned black in an instant. Seeing this, Ningxi quickly changed her tune. No. It won't be boring to be with boss. It's a great honor to accompany you. In the back seat of the car, Jiong cleared his throat and whispered, Miss Ning, is she really not schizophrenic? Xiao glanced at him, schizophrenic? She's just acting weak. Haven't you figured it out yet? She's pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Tiger refers to the boss? Jiong was still confused. Then, how do you explain boss's attitude towards Miss Ning? This time, Xiao had no words, only muttering, I don't know. I'm scared stiff. He had almost thought that someone had impersonated the boss. Cheng Feng, who was busy handling things in the car, finally couldn't stand it anymore. He looked up at the two and said, What do you two single dogs understand? This is the power of love. The car drove all the way to the safe zone. At the hotel, Lu Tingxiao took her directly to his suite. After settling her on the sofa, he went to the balcony and made a call. After a while, Cheng Feng brought a PSP game console, fashion magazines, and a pile of snacks. After settling Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao began to gather his subordinates for a meeting. The meeting room had a window, which happened to provide a clear view of Ningxi in the opposite living room. Indeed, he achieved the goal of not letting her out of his line of sight. Ningxi sat among the gaming consoles, magazines, and snacks, feeling like a pet waiting for its owner. After a while, Cheng Feng, Xiao, Jiong, and a few others entered the room. The other subordinates who hadn't seen Ningxi before were surprised to see a lively girl sitting here. Xiao and Jiong looked at Ningxi sitting properly on the sofa, holding magazines, with a twitching smile on their faces. Ningxi, who had no interest in eating, drinking, or playing, sneaked a glance at Lu Tingxiao and quickly sent a message to a certain bastard. You surnamed Jiong, you damn turtle. To express her anger, she added numerous exclamation marks at the end. Soon, a reply came from the other side. Yun Radish, say that again. Damn! He dared to threaten her? He was still trying to reason with her. Ningxi typed rapidly, as you wish. Turtle, King, 8, damn. Yun Radish, Ningxi. You're asking for trouble. Ningxi looked at the words and got angry. Damn it. You did something unethical yourself, and you won't let others talk about it. Attacking from behind when you can't confront someone openly. This kind of despicable, shameless, and cowardly behavior is an insult to turtles even if I call you a turtle. After about 10 seconds, the other side replied, Yun Radish, I attacked from behind. Ningxi continued to edit her message quickly. If it wasn't you, then who was it? Don't tell me Pharaoh and Alice aren't your people. This time, the other side almost replied instantly, Yun Radish, you figured it out. Ningxi snorted, of course. If it weren't for my wit and bravery, I would have been dead. Of course, that's not the point. Don't change the subject. Yun Radish, darling, that is the point. At the same time, in Las Vegas, in an underground bar. Dazzling lights, deafening music, men and women in the dance floor reveling in a life of debauchery. In a luxurious booth beneath a giant crystal chandelier, a handsome Italian man with blonde hair and blue eyes sat. Despite his handsome appearance, his eyes had a hint of wickedness. At this moment, he was surrounded by a large group of hot-bodied beauties, indulging in drinking and revelry, creating an extravagant scene of revelry. Only a few steps away from him, there was an oriental-looking man with black hair. Sitting alone on a large sofa, the man wore gold-rimmed glasses, had a Bluetooth earpiece in his ear, and a laptop on the coffee table in front of him. He exuded an aura that warned strangers to keep their distance. No matter how wild the revelry in the bar, no one dared to approach him. In stark contrast to the Italian man opposite, who was reveling in wine and women, the scene formed a strange and vivid contrast. After a while, the black-haired man faced the direction of the laptop, nodded respectfully, then stood up and walked to the Italian man. He calmly asked, Mr. Augustine, was Pharaoh's action your command? The blonde Italian man lifted his drunken face, Pharaoh. Oh, that's right, it was my order. What's wrong, my dear partner? The black-haired man spoke without expression, you moved someone you shouldn't have. Someone I shouldn't have? The Italian man looked confused for a moment, then suddenly seemed to realize something, showing an enlightened expression, you mean that woman.